Hopefully you're feeling pretty good about loops after that last lesson and maybe grasping how they work. What we're going to do in this lesson is put that to the test, and then this will carry into our other lesson. So get ready. And how we're going to do this is by looping through some data to build a Twitter feed. And while the camera was off or while I wasn't recording, all I did was I put a div and with tweets, and I have some dummy tweets in here with some basic style markup. And we're actually going to replace this with other kind of real data in a sense. So what I'm going to do is delete this because we're going to populate this feed through JavaScript. And I'm going to move this to a template file or a template tag. And if you've never seen one of these before, nobody really uses them in my opinion, but what it does is it just has a default of display none, and you can reference it later if you want. And I'll probably do an example of something with this soon. But what I want to do now is I want to figure out how to populate our tweets with fake data. And I already have here some fake data. So we call this fake data. And remember how in our JavaScript lessons, we were talking about how there's arrays and they're not key value stores. The order doesn't really matter as much. Well, the order here does for the date order. I think I'm all over the place, but I just want to teach you the loops. And our goal is to loop through this array and then populate it to the Twitter feed with those styles that I made, all based on this. So I want to take this markup, combine it with this data 3 times, and then throw it in the feed here. And it's actually kind of easy with jQuery. We're going to do a loop with jQuery just because jQuery makes it so easy. A lot of people will tell you this is just an array. You should not use jQuery to loop for it. But for just starting out, jQuery is our helper. We're definitely going to use it. Now, you can see this isn't a selector. This is the array of data, and that's okay. We're only sending the array of data because we want to use the each helper. So if I would console log this, what the heck would it be because there's no selector here? If I log it and I look, we have an array with an object of all of our stuff. So you know JavaScript from all those other lessons on how to retrieve data. You could one by one figure out how to get this data out of here, which would be probably something like this. But what I want to do is show you an alternative way, which is even simpler. You can pass argument index and value, and you can call these whatever you want. But what these do to show you is kind of gut through everything. So we're now using the loop. We just console logged the iteration. Remember, arrays start at 0. And then the object is the value being logged. So it'd be really easy to get data out of here. We could just do .text if we want to. And we're looping through this array. Pretty simple. Let's turn these into variables so we can mess with it later. And I don't need a variable for iteration, but we'll create one for text. So we'll do value.text, one for who, and then finally one for when. And let's do a neat little trick here where we just line up our equal signs. Now that looks really nice. All we have to do now is figure out how to combine it with this. Now you can do like a string replace thing with the template. But I'm actually going to show you kind of a quicker / lazier method. I'll probably show you the other method too after. But what I want to do is comment block this out so my syntax doesn't get messed up. And I'm going to create a new variable. And this is going to be called tweet HTML. And we're just going to go line by line and kind of paste this in here. Now, how do I add? You can't do something like this. So I can't do this because remember JavaScript semicolons are optional. And a new line JavaScript's going to think the statement's over. This will break everything. So what you have to do is plus equals, and we're adding it to be connected to the string here versus reassigning the variable. So we're just adding to it, which is cool because now we can do, and just for speed real quick, I'm going to fly through this. I'm going to paste our demo of our demo tweet. Almost there. We got 3-4 more lines to go. And okay, we got 1 more line to go. Cool. All right, so this is our HTML. This is our HTML redone as individual variables here. So if I would now just do something like this, where we would say grab the tweets with it, which if you remember, our tweets is just a class here. We can append it with the tweet HTML. And so if I refresh, hopefully this works. It does. We get our dummy markup iterated through here 3 times. So if I would add to the loop here a 4th one, we would get 4 and so on. Pretty nice. We're going to limit it to 3. And all we got to do now is replace the actual dummy content with our variables, which if you remember from the concatenation lesson, we're just doing something like this. Value text for here, we'll do the same thing, but value.who. And then finally, we'll do value.when. Refresh. And our variables on each iteration are going to be reflective. So we refresh. We have, I like to tweet by Scotch. I do not like to tweet by what Nick tweets. And then I am indifferent by Chris on Code. It works. We just loop through this array using jQuery. And I'm hoping that maybe gave you a real better example of loops than the last example.